because of the cold, lack of space, or religion. Here are 10 places where dying is banned. Itsukushima is an island out of Hiroshima Bay, Japan. In the 8th century, a sanctuary dedicated to the 3 Shinto divinities has been built on his coast, making this a sacred place. The access on the island has been forbidden for centuries, and no one could step foot on this divine land. That's why it was decided to build a sacred complex suspended on the water, not directly on land, to allow the arrival of pilgrims. The entrance door was built on the water for the same reason. About 1,800 people live here now, and to preserve the purity of the place, since 1878, it is forbidden to give birth and to bury corpses. And yes, it's forbidden to die. Therefore, pregnant women and ill people must leave the island. Longyearbyen is a small town in the north. It is so far north, in fact, that the sun doesn't rise for 4 months in the winter, and it stays above the horizon for 4 months in the summer. Has an average winter temperature of -17 degrees Celsius, and its soil has the characteristic known as permafrost, which means permanently frozen. With a natural underground refrigerator, everything that is buried here freezes and remains frozen. Therefore, along with the buried bodies in the cemetery, so are the preserved viruses that killed them. In this case, we are talking about the 11 victims of the 1918 Spanish influenza. Scientists don't know why that pandemic had been so deadly and unusually aggressive, killing 5% of the global population. There may be clues in those bodies that can prevent a future global epidemic. That's why they are studying the 11 victims. But in the meantime, to prevent other viruses from being preserved along with the bodies, dying has been banned here since 1950. In case you are wondering, nowadays, people approaching death in Longyearbyen are flown to the mainland for their final days. Another story in the island of Delos, Greece, already inhabited in 3000 BC, as the archaeological finds show. But its story ended in 426 BC, when the island passed under the Athenian hegemony that purified it for religious purposes. The Athenians deported all its inhabitants. The tombs were opened and the remains taken to the nearby Rhenia. And since then, no one has been born or died on Delos. Today, the island is uninhabited and an immense open archaeological museum. Another reason for Celia, a small medieval town in southern Italy with only 500 inhabitants. In response to the demographic crisis in 2015, the mayor signed Resolution 11, with which he imposed periodic health checks to everyone, insisting that dying is prohibited. Those who do not undergo health checks regularly are fined and also have their taxes raised. In a town in the south of France, instead, those who die are even sanctioned. Sao Paulo is a small town with a tiny cemetery. In 2008, the mayor issued a decree prohibiting death in his municipality after a French court didn't give him permission to expand the local cemetery. People didn't really understand him, but they trusted him and supported him. Sao Paulo is not the only city that has banned death due to lack of space. It happened to 2 other cities in France, in Spain, in Brazil, and again in Italy. It's actually an original and desperate way to put pressure on the slow bureaucracy that is driving the local authorities crazy.